Nation of Fitin10, it is day 56. It is day 56 because it's Friday and we are 2 weeks left officially. 14 days. Wow. 14 days. Still 20% though. 20% is a lot. So it's not over yet. It's not over yet. Can you still make mega massive change? You can still make a lot of change. Let's just say that, right? You can still make a lot of change. All right, I'm gonna hop right into some questions here. Got a few more feedback entries. So this person asks, is there anything you would like me to cover in this video series? That's not what they asked me, that's what I asked them. And they responded, how quickly should the amount we are lifting be going up? Okay, so for those of you who are new, we should be seeing increases almost week to week. However, it does depend on the movement. So I should really say this, when you are doing your compound movements, you are essentially doing movements where you've got multiple muscles involved. And so all of these muscles are going to improve somewhat every week. And that's going to be enough for you to see a change in weight, essentially, in you being able to add more weight. Now, you may not see that right away because, you know, this whole thing is a process and it goes beyond just raw strength. We have to look at, you know, learning the movement, understanding the mechanics, being able to connect to that movement much easier. So for example, you might have lifted a certain weight one week, let's just say whatever, let's say the empty bar on your rows, and maybe your form wasn't that great, but then the next week you do the same thing for the same amount of reps. Okay, let's just say reps, all the volume's exactly the same, the weight's exactly the same, but your form was better and your targeting was better. So you're using the muscles more. So you're still improving even though you're not seeing that in the weights. Okay, so this is really, really important. It's you know, weight is important. It is part of that. It's not everything. Okay, so don't just think about weight as improving. Once you've hammered out all that, once you've got your form down, once you know how to hone into that exercise, you can expect your bigger movements, your stronger movements to be going up, you know, probably 5 pounds every 2 weeks or so. Okay, I don't think that's unreasonable. If you're a bigger person, if you're already moving, it's all percentage based, right? So, you know, if you're doing curls with 8 pounds, a 10 pound, going from 8 pounds to 10 pounds is a huge increase. That's 25%. So sometimes you just may not see that. But if you're doing squats and you start off with, you know, it would be unreasonable for a male to you know, be starting off with 100 pounds. So increasing by 5 pounds is only 5%. Okay, so it's hard to increase by 5% on 8 pounds or 10 pounds. You know, because it's the weight increments just aren't there, right? So in general, I will say this to all of you on your bigger compound movements, your presses, your deadlifts, your squats, maybe your rows, you're going to see an increase of, you know, potentially 5-10 pounds every couple weeks. Every week, every session, and by how much? Okay, so yeah, basically I answered all that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. But listen, it's not all about that. I will tell you that my training, so this comes down to specificity too. What are you trying to achieve and everything? But I'm just going to give you another example here, okay? If this is just one slice of the pie in terms of looking at everything. My training in many ways has improved over the last number of years just by becoming that much more rigid in terms of how, for lack of better words, how honed in I am for that set. So, you know, how much am I really digging in and how much am I really utilizing the muscles that I want to use at hand? Okay, and so this is a lot. There's a big difference between that and just doing a set and trying to get those reps. Okay, so there's a saying, you may have heard me say this in class, get the most out of the least. Get the most out of the least. right? So when you're doing your sets, we're talking, proper form, proper mechanics, good tempo. So control tempo, control eccentric, being able to really tap in while doing all this, tap in and really executing or utilizing the muscles at hand, all of that. And then with all of that, we go as heavy as we can, right? So that might mean that maybe on your rows, that means you got to do 50. Could you do 60? Yeah, but you couldn't do all of that. Do you see what I'm saying? So, sometimes it's about doing maybe a little bit less, but then covering all your bases to get the most out of it, right? To get the most out of the set. Okay? Okay. This person writes, this is under name, something specific you need help with. I did not meet my fat loss goal during the first weigh-in, but beat it for the second. What would be a good way to try to catch up and meet my challenge goal? Well, ultimately, I'm going to tell you to follow everything just as is. However, if you wanted to see more change, and I don't necessarily recommend this, but you can always do more. And I wouldn't attack the diet portion, especially this person, because we've already made some somewhat significant changes with diet. I would go towards more trying to do maybe a little bit more energy expenditure. But with this all being said, with the changes that have been made, I'd probably just keep going. And you might get to that goal. If you really were like just dead set on like, no, I really, really like, maybe I can get over my goal, maybe I can just do better. How can I do better? More energy expenditure. So you could do a 4th day of weights. This person has a membership. You could do a 4th class per week. Or you could add another cardio session. Okay, or 2. Okay? All right. Message of the day. What is the message of the day? I haven't looked. The message of the day on this day 56, you must tell yourself, no matter how hard it is or how hard it gets, I am going to make it. I'm going to make it. More often than not, this is just mindset. More often than not, this is just the way we see things. More often than not, this is perhaps us not maybe getting to where we thought we could at a certain point. Maybe not, reaching that point that we had initially set out for ourselves. Okay, that's okay. But this is certainly not an indication of what you're capable of. This is certainly not an indication of where you can possibly go with something. What's the saying? The trip of 1,000 miles starts with one step, right? All these steps matter, and you may not see those steps as mattering towards your end goal, especially if you don't see some kind of tangible change or some kind of metric, some kind of thing that you can measure. But believe it or not, everything is actually leading you forward, closer towards that goal. There's always something you can pull from it. There's always some sort of learning. There's always something that is bringing you closer to that goal, even if it's not tangible. Okay, maybe it's a lesson or whatever, something you can take away, or some things you can take away, right? Anyways, coming back to the original message of the day, you must, well, I guess you don't must, but you could tell yourself, no matter how hard it is, or how hard it gets, that you are going to make it. You are going to make it. 70 days is really nothing hopefully, in your fitness, in your health journey, in your journey to, in your contribution to a better you, right? Okay, positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, and for the love of God, give some gratitude, and I'll talk to y'all very soon. See you guys.